free indeed. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, open your eyes, can't you see? Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, free indeed. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, open your eyes, can't you see? We made an agreement through the mouth of our forefathers, the foremothers. They said, all you say, that's what we will do, and be obedient to. The Bible said what they need now, because we broke the agreement. We are the tail, not the head. Just take a look around your so-called hometown. Tell me that you don't see curses on you and me. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, free indeed. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, open your eyes, can't you see? Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, free indeed. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, open your eyes, can't you see? You would have to be a blind man not to understand or see. There's only one people on the earth that fits every one of the verses in Deuteronomy 28. I'm talking about the curses from verses 15 to 68. There's no other people on the planet that can relate or find themselves in such a deplorable state. If we in the city or the country, wherever we stay, in every negative category, the top of the chart is where we're placed. But all praises be to the Most High God for your saving grace. I thank Him every day. It will not always be this way for our race. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, free indeed. Know the truth, it'll make you free. Israel, open your eyes, can't you see? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shalom, 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 Shabbat, shalom. Sending our greeting to the 12 tribes that are scattered to the to the four corners of the globe. Yahweh be with you. Yahweh bless you. Once again, I'm Brother Yagda Israel from the fourth son of Jacob. His name was changed to Israel. I will be endeavoring to bring forth biblical and historical information from the Bible, from historical books and records. Name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. Title of the teaching today is What Day is the Biblical Day of Worship? Part number 10. We got us a dime on this one. We got a 10-piece. Once again, I'm Brother Yagda Israel. I can be contacted at phone number area code 331-312-4022. Once again, for questions or comments, I can be contacted at area code 331-312-4022. I can also be contacted by email. My email address is ydhysrael@gmail.com. Once again, my email address is ydhysrael@gmail.com. My brothers, my sisters, title of the teaching tonight, What Day is the Biblical Day of Worship? And we made it to the final piece, which is the 10-piece or the dime. We made it to the 10-piece. What day is the Biblical Day of Worship? Part number 10. And like always, the first thing we do is present the name that we will be using. We'll not be using the traditional names of Lord God or Jesus, but we will be using the four letters, which they call the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, which we pronounce Yahweh. The first thing we do is present the name, and it reads, the most common name for God in the Shemitic Hebrew Bible is YHWH, which is usually transliterated. The name YHWH is also known as the Tetragrammaton. Let's get a second witness, my people. This is from the Britannica, the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica, and it reads, Yahweh, name for the God of the Israelites, representing the biblical pronunciation of YHWH. The Shemitic name revealed to Moses in the book of Exodus. The name Yahweh, consisting of the sequence of consonants Yohe, Wahe, is known as the Tetragrammaton. So the four letters is what we will be using. That will be what come out of our mouth tonight. We will not be using the traditional names of Lord God or Jesus, my people. But we will be using the four letters, which they call the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton, or YHWH, is God's personal name as revealed in the Bible. God's name can be represented by the four consonants. These consonants can be spelled in English as YHWH, known as the Tetragrammaton. It appears nearly 7,000 times in the Old Testament of the Shemitic Hebrew Bible. In English, the four letters of the Tetragrammaton are represented by the consonants YHWH. Yahweh is by far the most frequently occurring name in the Bible. It reportedly appears for over 7,000 times in the Bible, while its writers refer to God by many titles, such as Lord, God, Jesus, the Almighty, the Most High. YHWH, Yahweh, is the only personal name they use to identify the Supreme Being. The name may be derived from a verb that means to be, to exist, to cause to become, or to come to pass. Once again, my brothers and sisters, we will be using the four letters which we pronounce Yahweh, YHWH. So let's go get a couple of scriptures to bag up our point. Go right to the book of Genesis. Make that Exodus. Exodus chapter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse number 13. Book of Exodus 3, and we want to peep at verse number 13. My people, and it reads, And Moses said unto Yahweh, Behold, when I come unto the family, the nation, the children of Israel, and say unto them, The Yahweh of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? Verse number 14 reads, And Yahweh said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the family of Israel, I am has sent me unto you. Verse number 15 reads, And Moses said moreover unto Moses, and Yahweh said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children, family of Israel, Yahweh of Abraham, Yahweh of your fathers, Yahweh of Abraham, Yahweh of Isaac, and Yahweh of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, have sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. So the name that was delivered to Moses, which he in turn delivered to the 12 tribes of Israel, was four letters, which we pronounce Yahweh, YHWH. Let's try to get a second witness. Go right to the book of Joshua. What they call Joshua, Oshia, the son of Nun, right? Go right to Joshua chapter 23. We want to peep right at verse number 7. The book of Joshua. We want chapter 23. And we're going to run right and take a look at verse number 7. And it reads, the book of Joshua 23, verse number 7 reads, That you come not among these nations, these that remain among you, either make mention of the name of their false Yahwehs, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bind yourself unto them. So the Most High is on record, right, saying that he don't even want us to make mention of the name of their false Yahweh. Let's get a second witness to bag that statement up there. We're going to run to the book of Exodus chapter 23. Let's get a second witness. We want to bag that statement up. Exodus 23, verse number 13, and it reads, book of Exodus 23, verse 13, and it reads, And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other false Yahwehs, neither let it be heard out of your mouth. So this is the instructions straight from the horse himself, Yahweh, the four-letter man. He don't want us making mention of the name of other Yahwehs. You know who you be praying to? You be praying to Lord, God, and Jesus, right? But he said the only name that he going to respond to is the four letters, which we pronounce Yahweh. Let's go get a New Testament witness, right? We're going right to the book of Acts. We want to go get a witness out of what they call the New Testament. Go run to Acts chapter 4. And we want to peep right at verse number 12. My people. Acts chapter 4, verse number 12, and it reads, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved." So according to the record, according to the writings of the apostles, right? Acts, which they accredited to Luke, right? They say that Luke was the author that penned the book of Acts. Acts chapter 4, verse 12 say, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved." So the only name that we can call on, my people, is the four letters YHWH, which we pronounce Yahweh. Let's get a New Testament witness. Get a second witness. Out of the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established, right? You can read that in the book of Matthew 18, and you can also read it in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse number 1. But we're going to run to St. John chapter 20. We're going to look at verse number 31. We want to get a second witness out of what they call the New Testament. My brothers, my sisters. The book of St. John chapter 20, verse number 30 reads, "And many other signs truly did Yahweh the Hamashiach, the anointed one, in the presence of..." Well, that ain't what we want. We off base. We want verse number 31. Well, I could just finish reading that. That sounded pretty good. I did it. St. John 20, verse 30, and it reads, "And many other signs truly did Yahweh the Hamashiach in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book." Verse number 31 reads, "But these are written that you might believe that Yahweh the Hamashiach, the anointed one, the Son of Yahweh the Father, and that believing you might have life through his name." So brothers, sisters, the one that we get up under for this eternal life is the four letters. We don't call on Lord, God, or Jesus. Nor do we call on Allah, right? The word Allah only means God in the, what they call Arabic language, I would say. It only means God. But we read in the book of St. John 20:31 that the name for this life is the four letters YHWH. My people, let's get into this thing a little bit. Go right to the book of Luke. See what we can come up with tonight. Once again, the name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. The title of the teaching today is, what day is the biblical day of worship? You know, you got 7 in the cycle of a week, right? Let me read that right quick. You got 7 days in the cycle of what we call a week. Let's read that. We're going to run to this little book that's entitled Calendar, History, Lore, and Legend. Lore, Lore, and Legends. Page number 32, chapter 1. And it reads, "The week, a distinct unit. The week has a place all its own in the calendar. It is the only cycle that is entirely artificial. The only one that is not based on natural planetary movement or changes in the environment." So they say the 7-day cycle week is entirely artificial. In other words, they saying that we couldn't alter that thing. My people, they said that we couldn't touch it. It's artificial, meaning it's out of man's hand, right? Let me pick that up from the top, and it reads, "The week has a place all its own in the calendar. It is the only cycle that is entirely artificial, the only one that is not based on natural planetary movement or change in the environment. It obeys a purely mathematical logic. The week cycle of 7 days repeats itself indefinitely. My brothers, my sisters, my people. Let's jump into this thing. We're going to write to Luke right quick, chapter 12. We're going to get a little bit of Luke on the table. Luke chapter 12, verse number 12, and it reads, Book of Luke chapter 12, verse number 12. For the righteous spirit shall teach you in the same hour what you ought to say. And we believe that if it be in the midnight hour or in the midday hour, we believe that in that very hour, right, the righteous minister spirit will teach you what you ought to say. We're going to run to the Apocrypha, what they call the Apocrypha, right? Which the word Apocrypha, according to my understanding, only means a hidden book. Somebody removed the Apocrypha, the 14 books, right, from the original 1611 King James Version, and they kind of put it behind their back. But we found out down through the annals of time, right? We found out that was 14 books that we needed. And then there are other books that we need to tie into the original KJV 1611. My brothers, my sisters, my people. Going right to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9. We're going to peep at one verse. We're going to lay our eyes on one verse. Verse number 17. And it reads, And your counsel, who have known, except you give wisdom and send your righteous spirit from above. So this wisdom comes from above, my people, my brothers and sisters. But we can't lay on our laurels. We got to be busy. We want to run to the book of Joshua. We want to find out the instructions was in Joshua chapter 1. And we're going to peep at verse number 8. The book of Joshua chapter 1, verse number 8, and it reads, this book of the law, first 5 books, right, called the Torah. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Verse number 9 reads, Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For Yahweh, your Yahweh is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. Verse number 10. Then Oshia, Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, verse number 11, is that all we need? Pass through the host and command the people, saying, Prepare you victual, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yahweh of your father giveth you to possess. But we got what we needed out of this in verse number 8. Let's reread that. The book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse number 8, and it reads, book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse number 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then shalt thou have good success. Let's get a second witness. We're going to run to the book of Proverbs. See if we can pull out a second witness concerning how we should engage ourselves in the pursuit of the knowledge of the Most High Yahweh, right? Going to run to the book of Proverbs, chapter 8. Let me see if this is what I need, if this is what I want. The book of Proverbs, chapter 8,
And we want to look at Proverbs chapter 8. And we want to peep at, let me see what we want out of this. Is it Proverbs 8 I need? Let me get my faithful. And let me make sure it's Proverbs chapter 4. That's what I need. The book of Proverbs chapter 4. I believe I'm on point. I done hit the nail on the head here. Yeah, that's the one I need. Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 1, and it reads, Hear you children, the instructions of a father, and attend to know understanding. Verse number 2, For I give you good doctrine, forsake you not my law. Verse number 3 reads, For I was my father's son, tender, and only beloved in the sight of my mother. Verse number 4 reads, He taught me also, and said unto me, Let thy mind retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. Verse number 5, Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not. Neither incline from the words of my mouth. Verse number 6, Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Verse number 7, let me see if we need any more of this. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So we want to find out with all this understanding, this wisdom, how do we attain it? We're going to run to the book, we're going to run to Sirach, right? We're going to run and peep at Sirach and what they call the Apocrypha. We want to look at the book of Ecclesiasticus. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 1, chapter number 1, right? And we're going to pick it up at verse number 1. And it reads, Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, verse number 1. And we just want the bottom part of this verse number 1. And it reads, All wisdom cometh from Yahweh, and is with him forever. Verse number 14. Drop down to verse number 14. Make that 13 and 14. The book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 1, verse number 13 reads, Whoso feareth Yahweh, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. Verse number 14. To fear Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb. We're going to drop down to verse 26. We want to get our point from verse number 26, and it reads, If you desire wisdom, if you want the wisdom of the Most High, what you got to do? Keep the commandments, and Yahweh shall give her unto thee. So if we want the wisdom of the Most High, we got to be about our Father's business, right? That's what we got to be about. We got to be doers of his word, right? According to the book of James chapter 2. Let's try to read that. Let's run to the book of James. And we want to peep at James chapter 2, right? We want to look at the book of James and what they call their New Testament, right? We'll run to the book of James chapter 2. And let's see where we want to pick this up at. Book of James chapter 2. I want to get right down to it. My brothers, my sisters, my people. Let's look at, we want to pick it up. Let me see where we want to pick it up. Let's pick it up at verse number, all this stuff is good, but I want to compartmentalize. I want to compartmentalize. See, I got some big words, but yeah. Let me see where we can start this at. Start it at 18. Verse number 18. Book of James chapter 2. Verse number 18. And it reads. James chapter 2. Verse number 18. If a man may say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. Verse number 2. Verse number 19. Thou believest that there is one Yahweh. You do as well. The devil also believe and tremble. Verse number 20. For wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. Verse number 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Verse number 22 reads, See if thou have faith wrought with his work, and by works was faith made perfect. Verse number 23 reads, And the scripture was fulfilled which said, Abraham believed Yahweh, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of Yahweh. Let me see where we can jump this thing off at. Let me peep at this thing. Go run to the book of, we done got the name on the table, right? Let's run to the book of Sirach. Let's start it right there. We'll run back to what they call the Apocrypha. And we're going to pick it up in the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33. And we want to peep at verse number 4. Ecclesiasticus 33, verse number 4. And it reads, the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33, verse number 4. Prepare what to say, and so thou shalt be heard. Bind up instructions, and then make answer. So when you head into this thing, you got to be somewhat prepared, my people. Got to be prepared. You got to prepare what to say, and so shalt thou be heard. Bind up instructions, and then you be ready to give an answer, my people, my brothers, my sisters. We're going to run to the book of Proverbs. Let's see if we can pull out a second witness. The book of Proverbs, around chapter 15, I believe. Let me peep at this right quick. I believe it's Proverbs chapter 15. Let me peep at it. Let me see if I'm on point. Proverbs chapter 15. What we need out of this. Let me see if I can pull it out. My brothers, my sisters. We want Proverbs chapter 15. Let me see what I need out of this so we can get right to it and we can move on down the road. Once again, the name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. Because you know, there's a whole lot of people out there want to put your light out. My people. But the name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. And the title of the teaching tonight is, What day is the biblical day of worship? Right? That's what we need to know. What day is the biblical day of worship? We're going to run to Proverbs chapter 14 and verse number 15. That's the way we want. That's the way we need it. Proverbs 14 and verse 15. And it reads, the book of Proverbs 14, verse number 15. And it reads, book of Proverbs 14, verse 15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. So you got to kind of investigate this thing for yourself, right? We're going to run to the book of Acts chapter 2. We're going to pick it up at verse number 38. The book of Acts and what they call the New Testament, my people. We're going to look at Acts chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse number 38. Book of Acts chapter 2. We're going to start this off in the book of Acts 2, verse 38, and it reads, book of Acts 2, verse number 38, it reads, Then Peter said unto them, Repent and be baptized every one of you in the name of Yahweh, the Hamashiach, the Anointed One, for the remission of sin, and you shall receive the gift of the righteous spirit. Verse number 39 reads, For the promise is unto you and to your children, and to all that are afar off, even as many as Yahweh our Yahweh shall call. Verse number 40, And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, Save yourself from this untoward generation. Then they that gladly received his word were baptized, And the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls. So in one day, right, the preaching, the teaching of the apostle Peter, right, he touched 3,000 people, and they was added to them in one day, my brother. So Yahweh can do whatever he please, my people. He can do as he please. Let's see if we can get a second witness that you got to work this thing out. You got to put in the work, my brothers, my sisters. We got to put in the work for ourselves, right? We're going to run to the book of 2 Timothy. The book of 2 Timothy. We're going to move on down the road. We're going to run to 2 Timothy chapter 2. And we're going to peep at verse number 2 Timothy chapter 2. We want to look right at verse number 7. And it reads, book of 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse number 7. Let's see if we can make this thing sound a little bit clear. And it reads, 2 Timothy 2, verse 7. And it reads, consider what I say, and Yahweh give you understanding, right? Yeah, listen to my word, but you got to go in the strips and verify this information for yourself. Let's get a witness to that. We're going to run to the book of Acts. We're going to run to Acts chapter 17. We're going to peep right at verse number 11. Acts 17 and verse number 11. And it reads, book of Acts 17, verse 11. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily to see if these things were so. So they had to put in some work, right? They searched the scriptures daily to see if these things were so. I want to get another witness in the book of Peter. I want to look at the book of Peter, chapter 2 Peter, chapter 2. We want to run to the book of 2 Peter. And we want to look at chapter 2. We're going to drop down to verse number 10. 2 Peter 2, verse number 10. And it reads, book of 2 Peter 2. Make that 2 Peter chapter 1, verse number 10. Book of 2 Peter chapter 1, verse number 10. And it reads, wherefore, the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, you shall never fall. So he said we got to make our election sure. We got to put in the work, my brothers, my sisters. Can't sit on the sideline on this. You got to jump in with both feet, my brothers. My sisters, we want to run to the book of Revelation right quick. We want to run to the book of Revelation, chapter 22. Book of Revelation, we want to peep at chapter 22. Book of Revelation, chapter 22. And we want to look right at one verse. Verse number 7. And it reads, book of Revelation 22, verse 7 reads, behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the saying of the prophecy of this book. Verse number 8 reads, book of Revelation 22, verse number 8. Now John saw these things and heard them. And when I heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel, which showed me these things. Verse number 9 reads, then said he unto me, see, you do it not. For I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren, the prophets, the seers, and of them which keep the saying of this book, worship Yahweh. Verse number 10, he said unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. Verse number 11, he that is unjust let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Verse number 12 reads, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. So the Most High is going to reward us according to our work, what our work shall be. So we got to put in some work, my people. Got to put in some work. We're going to run to Revelation chapter 20. We're going to run back to the book of Revelation. We're going to look at Revelation chapter 20. See if we can pull out a second witness. Book of Revelation. We want to run back to Revelation. We want to look at Revelation chapter 20. We want to see if we can get a second witness that we're going to be judged according to our works. We're going to run to Revelation 20. We're going to pick this up at verse number 12. My people, book of Revelation 20, verse number 12, and it reads, and I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. So we're going to be judged according to our works, according to what we do. You got to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. I want to run to Ezekiel. We want to follow up that statement with a precept in the book of Ezekiel. I believe I want Ezekiel chapter 14, I believe. Let me peep at that. I believe it's Ezekiel chapter 14. Let me see. I'm off script. I'm just flowing by the power of the Most High Yahweh. Ain't got no strip going on right now. You know, I ain't following no menu. I want to look at the book of Ezekiel. My brothers, my sisters, want to look at Ezekiel chapter 14, and we're going to pick it up at verse number 14. Ezekiel 14, verse number 14, and it reads, Ezekiel 14, verse 14, though these three men, Noah and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own self by their righteousness, save Yahweh. Going to drop down to verse number 16. The book of Ezekiel 14, verse 16 reads, book of Ezekiel 14, verse 16, though these three men were in it, as I live, saith Yahweh, they shall deliver neither son nor daughters. They only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. Going to drop down to verse number 18. Let's run down to verse number 18. Let's read it. Though these three men were in it, as I live, saith Yahweh, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters, but they only shall be delivered themselves. And we're going to drop down and get one more out of here. Verse number 20. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 14. And we're going to run down to verse 20. My people. And it reads, book of Ezekiel 14, verse 20. And it reads, though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, saith Yahweh, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter. They shall but deliver their own self by their righteousness. And now what he means by deliver yourself by your righteousness. Let's define that word. It's been a minute since we dealt with that word righteousness, right? Go right to the book of Deuteronomy. We just gonna get the number one response, Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we want to peep at verse number 25. Gonna get the number one response here. Deuteronomy 6, Verse 25, and it reads, it should be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh, our Yahweh, as he commanded us. So in order to be righteous in his eyes, we got to be doers, just like we read in the book of James. We got to be doers of his word, because we're going to be judged based on works. We're going to run to the book of is it 2 Samuel I need, or 1 Samuel? Let me peep at this. 2 Samuel, or is it 1 Samuel? It's a statement there in the book of Samuel, my brothers, my sisters, that I need to lay my eyes on so I can read it to you, right? It's in the book of Samuel. Let me see if it's 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel. See if this statement is in 1 Samuel chapter 2, I believe it is. 1 Samuel. And we want to look at chapter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 2 and 3. We want to run to 1 Samuel chapter 2. We want to look at verse number 2 and verse number 3. And it reads, 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse number 2. It reads, there is none righteous as Yahweh, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our Yahweh. Verse number 3 reads, talk no more so exceeding proudly, let that arrogance come out of your mouth. For Yahweh is a Yahweh of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. Let's get an example of how he weighed things in the balance. We're going to run to the book of Daniel. We're going to get an example, my brothers, my sisters. We're going to run to Daniel chapter 4, I believe it is. Let me see if that's the one I need. Daniel chapter 4, or is it Daniel chapter 5? Somewhere in there. We're going to run it down. We're going to get to it. Yeah, Daniel chapter 5. Let's get an example of Yahweh weighing someone in the balance, right? The book of Daniel chapter 5, verse number 1, and it reads, Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his so-called lords, right? And drank wine before the 1,000. Verse number 2 reads, Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in the land of Israel, Yagdah, Judah, southern kingdom, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. So Belshazzar, king of Babylon, right? He get ready to party hardy. Let's see how this party, how it turned out, though. Daniel chapter 5, verse number 3, and it reads, then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the family of the temple of Yahweh, which was at Yagdah, Judah, southern kingdom, what they call the polluted word Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. Verse number 4 reads, they drank wine and praised the Yahwehs of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, and of wood, and of stone. Let's peep at this thing, my people. Verse number 5. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Let's see what the king's response to this thing is. Then the king's countenance was changed. His thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another. So it says that the joints of, King Belshazzar, king of Babylon, right? The joints of his loins, I wonder if you picked up on that one. The joints of his loins were loose. That means he couldn't hold his bowels. Things just started creeping out from front and back. And his knees smote one against another. Verse number 7 reads, the king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldees, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing, and show me the interpretation thereof, shall be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold. They always want to put that chain on your neck, right? Chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. So Belshazzar, right? The son of Nebuchadnezzar, right? Now he done seen this writing on the wall, right? And he done got kind of trouble, right? So he called in these soothsayers and these astrologers. You know, they still do that to this very day, right? Especially when they elect a new president, he has to go through a ritual. And they have to bring in the soothsayers and the astrologers, right? But we want to peep at how this story unfolded, right? We want to run to the book of Daniel chapter 5 and want to see who was able to bring the king the answer to his question, right? We're going to run to the book of Daniel 5 and we're going to drop down to verse number 12. Because Daniel 5 verse 12 reads, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge. Let me see if I move too far down the road here. Let me peep at when old brother Daniel came in and made the proclamation and showed the king about the writing, right? Let me see if we can pick it up at verse 12 and run into it. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams and showing of hard sentences and dissolving of doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. Verse number 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, are you that Daniel, which are of the children of the captivity of Yagdah, Judah, right? So Daniel the seer. He was in captivity, my brothers, my sisters. He was in slavery in Babylon, my people. Daniel, which are of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of the land of Yagdah, Judah, Israel. Verse number 14 reads, I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of Yahweh is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. Verse number 15 reads, now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of a thing. Verse number 16 reads, and I have heard of thee, that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Now you have noticed about the superstars of the nation of Israel, right? Whenever they make it big for the majority of them, right? First thing they go and get them one of them big old chains to put around their neck, right? Ain't that right? I mean, am I lying or am I telling the truth? They go and get them one of them big old chains put around their neck, and they call it the Jesus piece. That's what they call it, my people. Daniel chapter 5, verse 17. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let your guilt be to yourself, and give thy reward to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. Verse number 18 reads, O thou king, the Most High Yahweh gave Nebuchadnezzar, your father, a kingdom, majesty, glory, and honor. Verse number 19. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, languages trembled and fear before him. Whom he would, he slew, and whom he would, he kept alive, and whom he would, he set up, and whom he would, he put down. Verse number 20. But when his mind was lifted up, but when his mind was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Verse number 21. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his mind was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High Yahweh ruleth in the kingdom of men, and that he appointeth over it whom he will. Verse number 22 reads, And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thy mind, though thou knewest all this. Verse number 23 reads, But hast lifted up thyself against Yahweh of heaven, and they have brought the vessel of his temple before thee, and thou and thy people, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them, and thou hast praised the false Yahwehs of silver, gold, brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and Yahweh in whose hand thy breath is. Now, Daniel is getting down with it, my brothers, my sisters. Daniel say, now Yahweh whose hand your breath is, and whose are all your ways, hast thou not glorified. Verse number 24 reads, Then was part of the hand sent from him, and this is the writing, and this writing was written. Verse 25, And this is the writing that was written. Many, tekel, up Hashan, up Hashim. Many, tekel, up Hashim. And it reads, verse 26, This is the interpretation of the thing. Many. Yahweh has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Verse number 27 reads, Tekel, thou art weighed in the balance, and are found wanting. Verse number 28 reads, Perez, up Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Verse number 29 reads, Book of Daniel 5, verse 29. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. See what happened to old Belshazzar. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldees, Babylon. Yahweh took his breath in that very same night. Like he said to the rich man. Let's go read that in the book of Luke. Let's run and read about this rich man in the book of Luke. Let me see if I can pull it out. I think it's Luke. Which one I want, 16 or 14? Let me see which one I want in Luke concerning this rich man, right? We want to peep at him right quick. He said, we want to see what Yahweh got to say concerning this guy in the book of Luke, chapter 12. He got everything going his way, right? We want to peep at what was the outcome. Because sometimes, when you got everything going your way and you don't have the right attitude concerning this thing, you might lose out in the end, right? The book of Luke 12, verse 13. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divide the inheritance with me. Verse number 14 reads, let me see if this is the one I need, or do I need to move on down the road? Because let me just continue to read this. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? Verse number 15 reads, And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, For a man's life consists not in the abundance of the things which he possesses. So, but in certain circles, right? that's all they preach, right? How much gold they can acquire, right? But Yahweh said, a man's life does not consist not in the abundance of things which he possesses. Verse number 16 reads, Book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 16. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentiful. Verse number 17. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. Verse number 18 reads, And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. Verse number 19 reads, And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have much good laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. Verse number 20. But Yahweh said unto him, You fool, this night is your soul required of you. Then who shall those things be which thou hast provided? So all that he acquired, but he didn't do nothing to secure life eternal, right? He didn't do anything to secure life eternal. It's a statement in the book of Psalms. I want to read, I want to plug in if I'm able to run it down. It's a statement in the book of Psalms. I want to say around Psalm 135, but let me peep at this thing right quick. It's one statement that I would love to read right about now. If I can lay my eyes on it, maybe I can read it, right? It's in the book of Psalms. I thought it was 135, but I don't see what I need there, so I'm not going to tarry too long. I'm going to go and grab it in the book of Job. I know I can run to the book of Job and grab it right quick. It's a statement in Job. Let me see if I can pull it out. The book of Job. There's a statement in the book of Job, chapter 33. And it reads, Book of Job. We want to run to chapter 33 in the book called Job. Chapter 33. And we want to peep at one verse. Book of Job 33, verse number, verse number 4. Book of Job 33, verse 4, and it reads, The Spirit of Yahweh have made me, and the breath of the Almighty have given me life. Let me see if I can follow up that statement in the book of Job 32. So the Spirit of Yahweh have made me, right? And the breath of the Almighty have given me life. Book of Job 32, verse number 8. Let me see if we can hit the nail on the head. The book of Job, chapter 32, verse number 8. But there is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth him wisdom. Now, I done blew the mark 2 times. I wanted a statement in the book of Job, and let me see if I can pull it out. I know I can run to Psalms and grab something right quick, but it was a statement in Job that I thought I would be able to pull it out. But nevertheless, we can take this thing another way. Let's see if we can run to the book of Psalms. Run to the book of Psalms right quick. Let me see what I need in the book of Psalms. Let me see if I can hit the nail on the head this time around, my people. We want to run to the book of Psalms. I think it's in Psalms 89 Psalms 68, verse number 20. Book of Psalms. We want to look at chapter 68, and we want to peep right at verse number 20. Book of Psalm 68, verse number 20, and it reads, Psalm 68, verse 20. He that is our Yahweh is Yahweh of salvation, and unto Yahweh belong the issues of death. So unto the Most High Yahweh belong the issues of death. Like we read earlier, when he told Belshazzar, Daniel the seer, the prophet, told Belshazzar that his very breath, right, was in the hand of the Most High Yahweh. And that goes for each and every one of us. If Yahweh take that breath, we will go to the dead, my brothers, my sisters. I thought I could hit it on the head, but I don't see exactly what I need, but I gave you a tidbit of what I could locate. It's a statement in, I thought it was in the book of Psalms, but I didn't, for the life of me, I haven't laid my eyes on it. I thought it was Psalms 135. That's what I was thinking of, my people. But for the life of me, I didn't see what I need in Psalms 135, verse number 3. I didn't see exactly what I need to just make it sound perfect, my brothers, my sisters, and I still don't see what I need. So I guess I better let that be, right? I just got to move on down the road. We find out that Yahweh is a judge of actions. We're going to be judged based on what we do, not what we say. Because Yahweh knows, he knows his people, right? Let's run to that Matthew chapter 10. He knows exactly who he is and how we operate, my brothers. We want to run to the book of Matthew chapter 10. And we want to peep at one verse. Book of Matthew chapter 10, I believe, is verse number, what did we want out of this? Book of Matthew, is it 10 or 15? Let me peep at 15. It's one statement that we need out of this before we really jump in this thing with both feet. Matthew chapter 15. And we want to look at verse number 7. Book of Matthew 15. Verse number, let's pick it up at verse number 6. Let's get right down to it. And it reads, Matthew 15, verse 6, and it reads, And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have you made the commandments of Yahweh of none effect by your traditions. Verse number 7, You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, Verse number 8 reads, This people draw nigh unto me with their mouth, and honors me with their lips, but their mind is far from me. Let's see if we can grab a second witness. Gonna run to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33. Run to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33. And we want to pick it up at about verse number, let me see where we want to start this at. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, verse number 29, and it reads, Ezekiel 33, verse 29, Then shall they know that I am Yahweh, when I have laid the land most desolate, because of all their abominations which they have committed. Verse number 30, Also, thou son of man, the children of your people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from Yahweh. Verse number 31 reads, And they come unto thee as thy people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear your words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but their mind goeth after their covenants. In other words, he said, all we are trying to acquire is like the rich man, right? He tore down the barn and built another. Says, so take your ease, drink and be merry, right? That's what we be looking for instead of trying to please the Most High Yahweh, right? Find out what it takes to please your Maker, my brothers, my sisters. Once again, Ezekiel 33, verse 32. And lo, there are unto them as a very lovely song of one that have a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument. For they hear your word, but they do them not. Verse number 33 reads, and when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a seer, a prophet, have been among them. He said, now when all this starts to go down, then you're going to try to figure out where you at, Yahweh. I need you, right? But it's going to be a little bit too late in a minute because Yahweh is going to shut the door just like he did during the time of Noah, right? Let's see what happened in the book of Genesis. I think it's about Genesis, I want to say chapter 9. Let me see if it's in Genesis chapter 9, what I need. Because Yahweh is the one that's going to close this thing and seal it up in the book of Genesis. Let's see what we need out of this Genesis. One statement I want to peep at in the book of Genesis, chapter 7, verse number 16. We want to look at one statement in Genesis, chapter 7. And we want to peep right at verse number 16. My people. And it reads, Genesis, chapter 7, verse 16. And it reads, they that went in male and female of all flesh, as Yahweh commanded him. Now he talking about Noah, right? And Yahweh shut him in. So you never know when Yahweh is going to say, I've had enough of you, right? So you better get in while the getting is good. Let's run to the book of Amos. I got a scripture that I need to put on the table to bag up that statement, right? Gonna run to Amos chapter 8, I believe I need. Let me peep at this thing, my brothers, my sisters. It's a statement in the book of Amos. I want to get right down to it, right? I want to get right down to it. My people, in the book of Amos. It's a statement in the book of Amos, and I want to hit the nail on the head. If I can pull it out, let me see where my aim is at here. It's a statement in Amos that I need to peep at. I believe it's Amos chapter 8, verse number 11. We want to peep at Amos chapter 8. We're going to look right at verse number 11. And it reads, Book of Amos chapter 8, verse number 11. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the word of Yahweh. Let's see if we can follow up that statement. Verse number 12, what do you say? And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh. And they ain't going to be able to find it. My brothers, the time to get in is right now. Today, if you hear my voice, harden not your mind, right? Today, if you hear the voice of the Most High Yahweh, harden not your mind. Let's go read that in the book of Hebrews. I mean, everything is written. All we got to know is where to go, read it at. Or else we can search it out. You can write it down. I mean, there's so many ways to get this thing on the table. I thought back in the day that no way I could deal with this thing like this. But we want to run to the book of Hebrews, chapter 4. Let's see where we want to start this at. Hebrews chapter 4. We're going to pick it up at verse number 1. We're going to read all this good stuff right here. The book of Hebrews chapter 4. And we want to pick this thing up at verse number 1. Book of Hebrews, my people, chapter 4. We're going to start this in verse number 1. And it reads, let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, if any of you should seem to come short of it. Verse number 2 reads, for unto us was the covenant, the gospel preached, taught, as well as unto them. But the word taught did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. So they heard this thing, but they swear they didn't believe it, my brothers, my sisters. They said that those are the words of a man, not knowing that Yahweh is the one that inspired old man to put this information in a book. Like we read in Jeremiah chapter 30. He told Jeremiah to write it in a book, right? It was inspired by the Most High, Yahweh. Man didn't come up with the information on his own agenda. Yahweh, he controlled this thing from east to west, north to south. My people, he's in control of this thing. He set up kings and he take kings down. Hebrews chapter 4, verse number 3 reads, For we which have believed to enter into his rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. Verse number 4 reads, For he spake in a certain place of the 7th day on this wise, and Yahweh did rest the 7th day from all his works. So he rested the 7th day, my brothers, my sisters. Verse number 5 reads, And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Verse number 6, Seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein too, and they to whom it was first preached, taught, enter not in because of unbelief. Verse number 7 reads, Again he limited a certain day, saying in David, Today, after so long a time, as it is said, Today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your mind. He said, the day you hear this thing, this register in your brain, don't shun it, don't shake it off now. We want to go to the book of Sirach. We want to run to Sirach. I think Sirach chapter 7. Let me see if I can pull this out. We want to run to Ecclesiasticus chapter 7. It's a statement that Yahweh left that we might want to pay attention to. In the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus chapter 7. And we want to read, let me see if that's what we need here. Ecclesiasticus, make that chapter 5. And we want to look at verse number Ecclesiasticus 5. We want to pick it up at verse number 7. That's the way we want it. Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 5, verse number 7 reads, Book of Ecclesiasticus 5, verse number 7. Make no tarrying to turn to Yahweh, and put on off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of Yahweh come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. So Most High said, don't make no tarrying, don't delay this thing. He said, but in that very day, harden not your mind, my brothers, my sisters, my people. Let's go back to that Hebrews. We're going to pull out a second witness, but I want to finish reading this Hebrews 4, verse number 7, and it reads, And again he limited a certain day, saying in David, Today, after so long a time, as it is said, Today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your mind. In other words, don't put off from day to day. Once this thing enter into your brain and you understand what the Most High is on, right? What He got going on. That same hour, you better fall down on your knees and say, "Oh, Yahweh, forgive me," and repent and be converted, right? That's what we got to do. Repent and be converted. I want to run to the book of Psalms. I want to get a second witness. He said that in that very day, don't put out from day to day, right? But let's try to get a second witness in the book of Psalms. I want to run to Psalms 119. I think around about verse number 60. Let's see if I can hit the nail on the head. We'll run to Psalms 119, verse number 60. Let's peep at this thing right quick. Psalm chapter 119. And we want to look at verse number 60. Hey, hit the nail on the head with this one. Psalms 119, verse 60. I made haste and delayed not to keep the commandments of Yahweh. Let me read that. I stumbled a little bit over that. I made haste and delayed not to keep the commandments of Yahweh. So that's what we on tonight. What day is the biblical day of worship? Now, we done put in almost an hour and a half already, and we ain't even touched the subject matter for tonight. But we're going to bring in and prep this thing right quick. Going to bring in a clip so we can prep this thing up and get it moving down the road, right?
As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, Yahweh creation, ooh, it's so amazing. So marvelous. And I want to thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I want to thank you. I want to praise your name for giving me another chance. I want to praise you. I want to give you thanks for giving me your mercy and your grace. As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, Yahweh creation, ooh, it's so amazing. So marvelous. And I want to thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I wanna thank you. I wanna praise your name for giving me another chance. I wanna praise you. I wanna give you thanks for giving me your mercy and your grace.
I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who can prove to me from the Bible alone that I am bound to keep Sunday holy. There is no such law in the Bible. It is a law of the Holy Catholic Church alone. The Bible says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy." The Catholic Church says, "No, by my divine power I abolish the Sabbath day and command you to keep holy the first day of the week." And lo, the entire civilized world bows down in a reverent obedience to the command of the Holy Catholic Church. T.N. Wright, CSSR, in a lecture at Hartford, Kansas, February 18, 1884. The Catholic Church for over 1,000 years before the existence of a Protestant, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. The Catholic Mirror, September 23, 1893. Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea, AD 336, transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. Peter Geierman, The Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine, 2nd edition, 1910, page 50. Question: have you any other way of proving that the Church has power to institute festivals of precept? Answer: had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. Stephen Keenan, A Doctrinal Catechism, page 174. There is but one church on the face of the earth which has the power, or claims power, to make laws binding on the conscience, binding before God, binding under penalty of hellfire. For instance, the institution of Sunday. What right has any other church to keep this day? You answer by virtue of the third commandment. The papacy changed the fourth commandment and called it the third, which says, "Remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day." But Sunday is not the Sabbath. Any schoolboy knows that Sunday is the first day of the week. I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who will prove by the Bible alone that Sunday is the day we are bound to keep, and no one has called for the money. It was the Holy Catholic Church that changed the day of rest from Saturday, the seventh day, to Sunday, the first day of the week. T.N. Wright, CSSR, in a lecture delivered in 1893.
All right. There you have it. Right from the horse's mouth, right? Came from the horse's mouth. Let's see if we can pull up a few of these documents, historical records, and it reads. Reading an article that's entitled Roman Catholic and Protestant Confessions About Sunday. And it reads, Roman Catholic and Protestant confession about Sunday. And it reads, the vast majority of Christian churches today teach the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, as a time for rest and worship. Yet it is generally known and freely admitted that the early Christians observed the seventh day as the Sabbath. How did this change come about? History reveals that it was decades after the death of the apostles that a political, religious system repudiated the Sabbath of Scripture and substituted the observance of the first day of the week. The following quotations, all from Roman Catholic sources, freely acknowledge that there is no biblical authority for the observance of Sunday, that it was the Roman Church that changed the Sabbath to the first day of the week. So it says the Roman Catholics and the Protestants put their hand in Yahweh's business, right? Is that what they did? They put their hand in Yahweh's business. Let's peep at that. Let's run them down. We're going to run down these Roman Catholics and these Protestants. We want to read a little bit of history concerning the Roman Catholics and the so-called Protestants, right? And this article is from the National Geographic Educational. This is for educational purposes, my people. The Protestant Reformation. The Protestant Reformation that began with Martin Luther in 1517 played a key role in the development of the North American colonies and the eventual United States. Martin Luther, at the Diet of Worms, 1521. Martin Luther, a German teacher and a monk, brought about the Protestant Reformation when he challenged the Catholic Church teaching started in 1517. The Protestant Reformation was a religious reform movement that swept through Europe in the 1500s. It resulted in the creation of a branch of Christianity called the Protestant. Let me see if I can say this word properly. Protestantism. Protestantism, a name used collectively to refer to the many religious groups that separated from where? From the Roman Catholic Church, my brothers, my sisters, due to differences in doctrine. The Protestant Reformation began in Wittenberg, Germany, on October 31st, 1517, when Martin Luther, a teacher and a monk, published a document he called Disputation on the Power of Indulgence, 96 Theses. The document was a series of 95 ideas about Christianity that he invited people to debate with him. These ideas were controversial because they directly contradicted the Catholic Church teaching. Luther's statement challenged the Catholic Church's role as intermediary between people and Yahweh. So Luther, right? He challenged the role of the Roman Catholic Church that said that they was the intermediary. They was the one to go between Yahweh and the human race, right? Luther's statement challenged the Catholic Church's role as intermediary between people and God. Specifically, when it came to the indulgence system, which in part allowed people to purchase a certificate of pardon for the punishment of their sins. Luther argued against the practice of buying or earning forgiveness, believing instead that salvation is a gift Yahweh gives to those who have faith. Luther's objection to the indulgence system paved the way for other challenges to the Catholic doctrine throughout Europe. For example, John Calvin in France and Heinrich Zwingli in Switzerland purposed new ideas about the practice of the Holy Communion and a group called Anti-Baptists rejected the idea that infants should be baptized in favor of the notion that baptism was reserved for adult Christians. Broadly speaking, most of the challenges to the Catholic Church revolved around the notion that individual believers should be less dependent on the Catholic Church and its Pope and priests for spiritual guidance and salvation. Instead, Protestants believe people should be independent in their relationship with God, taking personal responsibility for their faith and referring directly to the Bible, the Christian righteous book for spiritual wisdom. Protestants reformed in England began with Henry VIII in 1534 because the Pope would not grant him a marrying annulment. Subsequently, King Henry rejected the Pope's authority, instead creating and assuming authority over the Church of England, a sort of hybrid church that combines some Catholic doctrine and some Protestant ideas. Over the next 20 years, there was religious turbulence in England as Queen Mary, 1553 to 1558, reinstated Catholicism in England while persecuting and exiling Protestants, only to have Queen Elizabeth I and her parliament attempt to lead the country back toward Protestantism during her reign, 1558 to 1603. Let's see if we can grab another article about these Protestants. And then we're going to look at, because we read that, these Protestants, they came up out of the Roman Catholic Church, right? So let's see if we can grab another witness. Let's read a little bit more concerning this matter of these Protestants, right? Protestantism, Christian religion movement. Christian religious movement that began in Northern Europe in the early 16th century as a reaction to medieval Roman Catholic doctrines and practices, along with Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox. Protestantism became one of the three major forces in Christianity after a series of European religious wars in the 16th, 17th century, and especially in the 19th century. It spread throughout the world wherever Protestantism gained a foothold. It influenced the social, economic, political, and cultural life of the area. Origins of Protestantism. The name Protestant first appears at the Diet of Speyer in 1529. Speyer, I believe that's the way it's pronounced, in 1529, when the Roman Catholic Emperor of Germany, Charles V, rescinded the provision of the Diet of Speyer in 1526 that had allowed each ruler to choose whether to administer the Edict of Worms, which banned Martin Luther's writing and declared him a heretic and an enemy of the state. Well, he became a Protestant. That means against the Roman Catholic Church. But people, where did Martin Luther get his upbringing? He was part of the Roman Catholic Church. That's what he was a part of. Writers declared him a heretic and an enemy of the state. On April 19, 1529, a protest against this decision was read on behalf of 14 free cities of Germany and 6 Lutherans. There you go, another one there. They became Lutherans, right? So Lutherans, y'all come out of the Roman Catholic Church. Princes who declared that the majority decision did not bind them because they were not a party to it, and that it forced to choose between obedience to Yahweh and obedience to Caesar. They must choose obedience to Yahweh. They appealed either to a general council of all Christendom or to a synod of the whole German nation. Those who made this protest became known to their opponents as Protestants, and gradually the label was applied to all who adhered to the tenets of the Reformation, especially to those living outside Germany. In Germany, the adherents of the Reformation preferred the name evangelical, and in France, Huguenots. The name was attached not only to the disciples of Martin Luther, 1483 to 1546, but also to the Swiss disciples of Heydrich Zwingli, 1484, 1531, and later of John Calvin, 1509 to 1564, the Swiss reformer, and their followers in Holland, England, Scotland, especially after the 17th century, preferred the name Reformed. So the ones up under this banner of Reform, Protestants, right? You had your beginning in the Roman Catholic Church. That's where you come up out of the Roman Catholic Church, following Martin Luther and John Calvin and those brothers, those people, right? But let's see if we can get a line on who all is part of this Protestantism. And let's see if we can. I know it's hard to see, but I'm going to try to see if I can pull it out. It says large denominations and Protestant religious traditions. You got first one on the list is the Baptist. Is you up under a Baptist? Either a Southern Baptist, Independent Baptist, American Baptist, National Baptist, Progressive Baptist, Missionary Baptist, Independent Baptist, and other Baptists. They all come up under this Protestant religious tradition, which came up out of the Roman Catholic Church, my people. That's why everything Rome do, you do. Ain't that right? You got the non-denominations. You got the Methodists, the Pentecostals, and the Lutherans. They all come up out of the Roman Catholic Church. That's why they do what Rome do. And what Rome do, let's go back to this article. Let's see what Rome do. Let's see if we can pull it back out. Where's my article? Let me see if I can jump to it. Let me pull up another article right quick. I want to read this. This reads Sabbath Truth, right? And it reads, the Roman Emperor Constantine, a former sun worshiper, professed conversion to Christianity. What kind of Christianity? Protestantism. Protestantism. The Roman Emperor Constantine, a former sun worshiper, professed conversion to Christianity, though his subsequent actions suggest the conversion was more of a political move than a genuine heart change. Constantine named himself Bishop of the Catholic Church and enacted the first civil law regarding Sunday observance in AD 321. So you see these Protestants, they observe Sunday, the first day of the week, my brothers, my sisters. But the order came from Constantine, who named himself Bishop of the Catholic Church. So if you keep in the first day of the week Sunday, you ain't no Protestant, you're a Roman Catholic. On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in cities rest, and let all workshop be closed in the countries. However, persons engaging in agricultural work may freely and lawfully continue their pursuit, because it often happens that another day is not so suitable for grain growing or for vine planting, least by neglecting the proper moment for such operations, the bounty of heaven should be lost. Scoffs, History of the Christian Church, Volume 3, Chapter 75. What Christian church? Protestantism, which come up out of Catholicism. my brothers, my sisters. That's why whatever Rome do, you do. Ain't that right? If you're Baptist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever Protestant denomination you come up out of, you come up under, you keep the first day of the week, don't you? Note that Constantine's law did not even mention Sabbath, but referred to the mandate rest day as the vulnerable day of the sun. Now we're going to hold it right there, my brothers, my sisters, my peoples. And we want to run to a historical book called the Unger's Bible Dictionary. We're going to hold this reading right there. We're going to run and read page number 1050 in the Unger's Bible Dictionary. Let's find out what you do on Sunday. What is Sunday dedicated for, my brothers, my sisters? We're going to look at page number 1050 in the Unger's Bible Dictionary, and it reads, page number 1050, Sunday, or Lord's Day, name and change of the day. Sunday is the first day of the week, adopted by the first Christians from the Roman calendar. Latin, Dies Solis, Dies S-O-L-I-E-S, S-O-L-I-S, Day of the Sun, because it was dedicated to the worship of the sun. Do you think that changed? You think it's clean now? My people, do you think the first day of the week that was dedicated to the worship of the sun somehow now is clean, right? But let's run to the book of Job. Let's see if that's even possible, my people, my brothers, my sisters. Let's see if it's possible for you to take an unclean thing, which is Sunday, first day of the week, was dedicated to the worship of the sun. If you are Protestant, you come up out of the Roman Catholicism, and you do as Rome do, right? We want to run to the book of Job. We want to see if it's possible to make an unclean thing clean according to the scriptures, my people. We want to run to Job 14, verse number 4. Book of Job. Oh, boy, I'm messing up. I'm missing the mark around here. I need me some Job. We want to find out if you can make an unclean thing clean according to the Most High Yahweh. We're going to look at Job chapter 14, verse number 4. Let me see if I can hit the nail on the head. And it reads, Book of Job 14, verse 4. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. Let's go back to this book called the. Let me put this scripture on the table, right? Let's reread that. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. So if it's not clean, you can't come up and make it clean. And Sunday, the first day of the week, was dedicated to the worship of the sun. That's what it was instituted for. How can you come along and say, and you don't change it? I'm a Baptist. That ain't why we do it, right? I'm a Pentecostal. That's not why we keep Sunday. We keep it because the Lord was raised on Good Sunday morning, right? Now all that we done proved is a lie. But let's run to this. Where did I want to go? I want to run to get a second witness, right? While the bun is in the oven, right? We want to run to Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 34, and verse number 4. We want to get a second witness, my people. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 34, verse number 4 reads, Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed, and from that thing which is false, what truth can come, what truth can come, right? Of the thing that is false, right? What truth can come? Let's go and grab another article right quick. Behind that, I need to grab me another article right quick. Yeah, that's the one I need. Who changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday, and why? The vast majority of mainstream Christians, Protestants, right? Baptists, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventists, all of them, up under the banner of Protestantism. Protestantism is the protest against the Roman Catholic Church. But Martin Luther, John Calvin, and all them boys, they was part of the Roman Catholic Church. That's where they got their feet wet, my people, up in the Roman Catholic Church. So they wanted some of that power that the Pope was willing, right? They said, I want some of that. Give it to me. So they came up with this Protestantism. Ain't that right? Whether you're a Baptist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, what else out there? Southern Baptist, what else out there? Protestant, hold on, what else is out there? The Church of God in Christ, whatever you up under, that Protestantism, it came up out of the Roman Catholic Church. Who changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday, and why? The vast majority of mainstream Christians go to church on Sunday. Yet the Bible speaks of observing the 7-day Sabbath. Who changed the Sabbath and why? Though he did not stop much of the persecution of Christians, as a whole, it seems he did more to introduce sun worship into Christianity than any before him. Historian Paul Johnson details some of this influence. Constantine was almost certainly a Mithric, a sun worshiper. My people, that's what Sunday was initiated for, the worship. They're dedicated to the worship of the sun, my people. And his triumphal art, built after his conversion, testifies to the sun god, or unconquered sun. Constantine never abandoned sun worship and kept the sun on his corns. He made Sunday into a day of rest, closing the law courts and forbidding all work except agricultural labor. A History of the Christianity, 1976, page 67 and 68. So a royal decree to rest and worship on Sunday instead of Saturday was made by the Roman emperor, a sun worshiper. Now, no thanks to Constantine. Now thanks to Constantine. Christians were celebrating on the same day the Mithrites worshiped the sun. This is a blatant example of pagan influence in Christian practices. So if you worshiping on the first day of the week, what they call Sunday, my brothers, my sisters, that was dedicated to the worship of the sun. And you can't make that unclean clean, my people. You just gotta reform your thinking. You gotta come back to the Most High Yahweh, right? Let's see if we can grab that scripture in the book of Malachi right quick. See if we can run to the book of Malachi chapter 3. Want to peep at the book of Malachi chapter 3. Book of Malachi. Where you at? Malachi. We need some Malachi chapter 3. And we want to pick it up at verse number 7. Book of Malachi 3, verse number 7, and it reads, Book of Malachi 3, verse 7. Even from the days of your fathers, you are gone away from my ordinance, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Yahweh of hosts. But you say, wherein shall we return? Let's run to the book. We want to run to the book of Sirach. Run back to what they call the Apocrypha, right? Run to Sirach, and we want to pick it up as Sirach chapter 17, I believe I need. Let me peep at this thing right quick. We want Sirach chapter 17. Is that what we need? Sirach 17, and let me peep at it. Verse number 7. Let me see what's going on with this thing. The statement that I want to hit the nail on the head with in the book of Sirach. It's chapter 17, and let's see what we need out of this. Sirach chapter 17. I want to get right down to it in the book of Sirach chapter 17. And let's pick it up at verse number 33. My people, and it reads, Sirach chapter 17, verse number 23, and it reads, afterwards he will rise up and reward them. How's he going to reward us? According to our works, my people. Afterwards, he will rise up and reward them and render their recompense upon his head. So this is a twofold mission. Some going to be rewarded, but some going to get a headache. My people. He going to put them in the chokehold. We'll get Sirach chapter 17, verse 24 read. But unto them that repent, he granted them return and comforted those that fell in patience. So we got to return to the Most High. Statutes, laws, and commandments, my brother. As we read earlier in the book of Joshua 1, verse number 8, you got to meditate in Yahweh's word day and night. It's always got to be somewhere in your brain. I mean, no matter, I go to work and do my job, but at some point of the day, I'm going to meditate a little bit, my people. I'm going to do a little bit of meditate on the things of Most High Yahweh. So he said that, but unto them that repent, he granted them return and comforted those that failed in patience. So let's see if you don't want to give up that unclean day called Sunday, the day that was dedicated to the sun. You don't want to let it loose, right? Let's see what Yahweh got to say concerning the matter. Going right to the book of Exodus, chapter 31. We're going right to Exodus, chapter 31. We want to see what the Most High Yahweh, what he got on his agenda. My brothers, my sisters, the book of Exodus, chapter 31, verse number 12 reads, Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, verse number 13, speak thou also unto the family of Israel, saying, truly my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh that sanctified you. So when you go to find out about the Most High, he gonna reveal himself on the 7th day, on his Sabbath. That's where he gonna reveal himself to you. His do's and his don'ts, my brothers, my sisters. You're not learning this on the first day of the week. I know, because I went to the first day of the week 42 years, and then learned squatty did, and then learned squirrel dot. You know, I'm just gonna be truthful with it. I know ain't nothing going on the first day of the week, but a whole lot of show business. Exodus 31, verse 14. And we got something to show you tonight. Let you know that what we talking about is facts. My brothers, my sisters, my peoples. Exodus 31, verse 14 reads, you shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Verse number 15 reads, 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, righteous to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Now let's see if we can go back to that revelation. Let's see what he's talking about. You're going to be put to death for polluting, profaning the seventh day and observing, going to worship on the first day of the week, which is unclean. It was dedicated by Constantine, who was an avid sun worshiper. My brothers, my sister, we're going to run back to that Revelation, chapter 20. We want to peep at this thing. Going to pick it up at verse number 12. One more again. Revelation chapter 20 and verse number 12 reads, And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh, and the books was open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written. Going to be judged based on what's written in the books according to their works. We're going to be judged according to our works. We will judge, let's run to the book of James right quick. It's a statement in James chapter 1. We're coming back to this revelation, but it's a statement in James that if I could lay my eyes on it, I want to read it, my people. In the book of James, chapter 1, I want to read a statement in the book of James, chapter 1. Let me see if I can run it down right quick. It's a statement in the book of James to follow up with this revelation, right? The statement in Revelation. I think it's chapter 1. It might be chapter 2. I'm on a peep at it. I'm gonna peep at it. See if I'm on point. I know it's James. That much I do know. James chapter 2. Let me see if is that what I need. James chapter 2. And we're gonna pick it up at verse number 8. The book of James and what they call the New Testament, chapter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 8, my brothers, my sisters. And it reads, If you fulfill the royal law according to the scriptures, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, you do well. Verse number 9. But if you have respect to person, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as a transgressor, breaker of the law. Verse number 10 reads, Whosoever shall keep the whole law and offend in one point, he is guilty of all. Verse number 11, For he that said, Do not commit adultery, said also, Do not murder. Now if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou murder, you are become a transgressor of the law. Verse number 12 reads, So speak you, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of Yahweh. So that's going to be the measuring stick, my people. The law, which is the first 5 books of Moses. And where you go to find out about Yahweh's law is on his Sabbath days, which is the 7th day. His Sabbath is the 7th day of the week. We're going to run back to that Revelation. Before we go back to Exodus, Revelation chapter 20. You want to peep at verse number 12. Book of Revelation 20 and verse number 12 read. Book of Revelation 20, verse 12. Now so the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh, and the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. Now the book of life is what they call the Bible. That's the book of life, right? And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. So we're going to be judged based on our performance. By him, actions are weighed. In the book of, What was that? 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 2 and 3, right? Revelation 20, verse 13 reads, and the sea gave up the dead, which were in it. So death ain't the end of this thing. My people, just because you in the grave don't mean that he gonna resurrect you, right? Revelation 20, verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead, which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead, which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. Gonna be judged according to what we do. And keeping first day of the week make you an enemy of Yahweh. And we're going to read that if I don't forget. Revelation 20, verse 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So what was the first death? First death. Let's see if we can pull that out. Go right to the book of 1 Peter. Let's see what was the first death. Go right to 1 Peter. What we want out of there? The book of 1 Peter. What was the first death? Let's see how Yahweh took care of business first time around, right? Go right to the book of Peter, chapter 1. Let me see where we want to jump this up. 1 Peter, chapter, let me see what I need here. Let me see if I can just grab it in 2 Peter right quick. 2 Peter. We want to write to 2 Peter. We want to grab it right quick out of the book of 2 Peter. Let me get down to 2 Peter here. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse number 5. Let's peep at this thing. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. What was the first death? In the book of 2 Peter 2, verse number 5, and it reads, and spare not the whole world, but save Noah, the 8 persons, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the Anyakwa, the Anyakwali, bringing in the word, bringing in the flood upon the world of the Anyakwali. I want to get that same statement in the book of 1 Peter, chapter, let me see what I want. In the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, and we're going to peep right at verse number 20. 1 Peter 3, verse 20. The book of 1 Peter 3, and we're going to look at verse 20, and it reads, 1 Peter 3, verse 20, which sometimes were disobedient, when once the long-suffering of Yahweh waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was preparing, while the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is 8 people, were saved by water. So the first death was by water, my people. But the second death, let's see if we can pull it out. We're right to the book of Isaiah. Let's see how he coming. When he come back, how is he going to come? My people. We're right to Isaiah chapter 65. Going to run all the way to Isaiah 65. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 15. Let's just get right to it. Get right to it. The book of Isaiah 65, verse 15. And it reads, you shall leave him. No. I want to get right down to it. Let me pick it up at 16. Isaiah 65, verse number 16. Let me see if this is what I need here. I want to get right down to it. How's he going to show up the second time? Thought it was Isaiah 65. Maybe it's 66. Let me try me some 66. Can't be that far off. Isaiah 66, verse number 15. And it reads, book of Isaiah 66, verse 15. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames. You mean it's going to be fire and brimstone? That's what he say, my people. I don't want to get caught up in what's getting ready to come down. It's something very dark get ready to take place on this planet, right? We're going to run to the book of 2nd Ezra. Let me see if I can read this statement in the book of 2nd Ezra. That going, I done messed up again. I done messed up. I need to get my apocrypha back on the table. I want to run to the book of 2nd Ezra. It's a statement in 2nd Ezra. I want to read a little bit of this. Let me see if I can write it down. 2nd Ezra, and what we need out of this. Let me see if I can write it down. Then we're going to prep for this last clip. Well, one of the last clips. And then we're going to get ready to shut this one down. We're over the 2-hour mark already. And you know, once again, brothers and sisters, I want to keep this down to 3 hours. We're on live, right? Up out of the shop Tuesday evening, 5:30 to 8:30. Then we come back on the evening of Shabbat, Friday evening. Friday evening to Saturday evening is the Yahweh Shabbat. It's Sabbath day, right? We come back at 5:30 to 8:30 with another line coming to you out of the shop. We want to look at the book of 2nd Ezra. We want to peep right at chapter 7. 2nd Ezra, chapter 7. And we want to pick it up. We're going to pick it up at verse number 41. We want 2nd Ezra, chapter 7. We're going to pick this up, start this reading at verse number 41. See if I can get to it. Verse 41. 2nd Ezra 7 and verse number 41. And it reads, because 2nd Ezra 7 and verse number 41. And it reads, let me peep at this right quick. Even so now, saying corruption is grown up, and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it not be so now also? Verse number 42. He answered me and said, this present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. Verse number 43. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. Verse 44. Intemperance is at an end. Infidelity is cut off. Righteousness is grown, and truth sprang up. Verse 45. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that have gotten the victory. Verse 46. I answered then and said, this is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have been given the earth until. Let me reread that now. I get excited sometimes. When we get ready to shut this one down, though, but I'm still rolling pretty good. 2nd Ezra 7, verse 46, and it reads, now answered then and said, this is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth unto Adam, or else when it was given him, to have restrained him from sinning. Verse number 47. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for what? Punishment. So after death, 3 witnesses that this is not the end. Death ain't going to exclude you from the judgment of Yahweh. My brothers, my sisters, you read he coming with fire and brimstone. And his chariots. That's right. That's how he coming. My people, Are you preparing yourself to meet your maker, right? We're going to go back to that Exodus 31. Going to run back to that Exodus chapter 31. We're going to read that. We're going to pick it back up at verse number 12 in the book of Exodus chapter 31. And want to peep at verse number 12. Exodus 31, verse number 12. My people. And it reads, the book of Exodus 12, Exodus 31, verse number 12. Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, verse number 13, and it reads, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, truly my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh, that sanctify you. Verse 14, you shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Verse 15, 6 days may work be done, but in the Sabbath is the Sabbath of rest, righteous unto Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Let's peep at this. Let's do our countdown. Time for the countdown. Where are you at? My calendar. I need you. We want to do our countdown. Where you at? Where you at? I don't see you. I know you're here somewhere. Let me see if I can write this down. Where you at, my calendar? I know I marked you out. I know I set you up. Where you at though? You shouldn't be that far down now. Where you at? I don't see you. I mean, I need my calendar. Where you at? There you are, all the way up there. I see you. I see you. Let's see if we can run this countdown. Let me get back to this thing. Let's get a countdown on this. Sunday, first day. Monday, second day. Tuesday, third day. Wednesday, fourth day. Thursday, fifth day. Friday, sixth day. Saturday is the seventh day. Let's reread this little book right quick. Because, you got those out there that say, well, how do you know that Saturday is the seventh day? Well, this is how I know. Because I go and investigate. That's how I know. I go do a little investigation. That's how I find out. We read earlier that you got to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. I want to go back and read this book, page number 32, and it's entitled The Calendar, History, Lore, and Legends. And it reads, on page number 32, it reads, the week, a distinct unit. The week has a place all its own in the calendar. It is the only cycle that is entirely artificial. The only one that is not based on natural planetary movement or changes in the environment. It obeys a purely mathematical logic. The week cycle of 7 days repeat itself indefinitely. So they on record saying, if we could have changed that cycle of 7 days, we definitely would have. We alter everything else. Ain't that right? Let's run back into the scriptures. Well, we're gonna prep. I'm gonna take me a drink break. I'm drinking some H2O now. I'm gonna get me a drink break, but I'm gonna prep this next clip. My brothers, my sister, stay tuned. We coming back at you. We coming back at you.
the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, your creation, ooh, it's so amazing, so marvelous. And I wanna thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I wanna thank you. I wanna praise your name for giving me another chance. I wanna praise you. I wanna give you thanks for giving me your mercy and your grace. As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, your creation, ooh, it's so amazing, so marvelous. And I wanna thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I wanna thank you. I wanna praise your name for giving me another day.
Why don't most modern Christians keep the Sabbath on the seventh day, Saturday? One popular belief is that it's because God changed the Sabbath to Sunday in the New Testament. For instance, the Westminster Confession states, "From the beginning of the world to the resurrection of Christ, the Sabbath was the last day of the week, and from the resurrection of Christ was changed into the first day of the week." However, many Christians might be surprised to learn that the New Testament itself does not teach that the Sabbath had changed. The apostles continued to keep the Sabbath on the seventh day, long after the Messiah's resurrection, and, as we'll see, Sunday was not widely considered a replacement of the Sabbath in Christianity until centuries after the time of the apostles. Some might say that the New Testament speaks about the apostles meeting on the first day of the week, Sunday. There is one, maybe two passages that mention early believers meeting on Sunday. However, there is no indication that these were weekly meetings, let alone that the earliest Christians had any intention of changing the Sabbath. In fact, according to the book of Acts, the earliest Christians continued to observe the Sabbath on the seventh day. Luke records that it was Paul's custom to worship in the synagogue on the Sabbath, just like it was Jesus' custom. According to New Testament scholar Harold Weiss, the New Testament shows that the Sabbath occupied a prominent position in the early Christian communities. Since the Bible does not support replacing the seventh-day Sabbath with Sunday, how did we get to where we are today with most Christians worshiping on Sunday instead? We will explore that question soon, but first, while the transition from Sabbath to Sunday began early in Christian history, many might be surprised to learn that this change was not immediate, nor was it universal among Christians. For instance, two 5th century church historians, Socrates Scholasticus and Sozomen, testify that almost all Christians outside of Alexandria and Rome continued to observe the Sabbath alongside Sunday. As scholar Kenneth Strand observes, this evidence demonstrates that, quote, even as late as the 5th century, almost the entire Christian world observed both Saturday and Sunday for special religious services. So, the earliest Christians did not consider Sunday a replacement for the Sabbath. Again, outside of Alexandria and Rome, most Christians observed both days. So, what happened? Well, during the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, there was a growing conflict between Jews and the Roman Empire. This conflict, quote, made it necessary for Christians to develop a new identity in order to avoid the repressive and punitive measures, fiscal, military, political, and literary, aimed at the Jews. In Alexandria and Rome, where persecution of Jews was especially fierce, there was a strong motivation to disassociate Christianity from Judaism. This led to the Christian communities in those places abandoning Sabbath observance early on. But once again, these motivations were not universal. As we saw earlier, most Christians living outside of Alexandria and Rome continued to observe the Sabbath in addition to Sunday as late as the 5th century AD. In any case, the earliest Christians did not consider Sunday a replacement of the Sabbath. Sunday was its own religious day. In fact, originally, Sunday was not even a day of rest. So, how did Sunday eventually become recognized as the quote-unquote Christian Sabbath? Well, on March 7th, 321 AD, the Emperor Constantine decreed that Sunday would be a day of rest. Christian historian Justo Gonzalez summarizes the significance that this edict had for Christians. Now that Sunday became a day of rest, civil laws had to determine what work was lawful on that day. This was soon followed by ecclesiastical laws also determining which activities were allowed on Sunday and which were forbidden. Under such circumstances, it is not surprising that Sunday was now connected with Sabbath rest and with the commandment ordering it. This was the great change introduced by Constantine's decree. It brought about a connection between Sunday and Sabbath rest that was not present in earlier Christian thought and devotion. In the long run, this would lead to discussions as to whether Sunday abolished the Sabbath, whether Christian worship should be on the Sabbath, and so on. Constantine's decree opened the door for later ecclesiastical authorities to discourage Sabbath observance and mandate Sunday observance exclusively. For instance, around 60 years after this decree, the Council of Laodicea's Canon 29 demanded, Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, but must work on that day, rather honoring the Lord's Day, Sunday, and if they can, resting then as Christians. As time went on, church authorities increasingly disparaged Sabbath observance and promoted only Sunday observance, as Strand remarks. This process brought about a widespread conflict of Sunday with the seventh-day Sabbath, and eventually in medieval times this Sunday Sabbath came to displace the original Saturday Sabbath generally throughout Europe. After the Reformation, in English-speaking countries, Sunday not only replaced the Sabbath, but also even came to be called the Sabbath. Protestant Christian confessions, sermons, and literature from this period all affirm the Sabbath commandment, yet Sunday is what is meant. So the Sabbath was changed from Saturday to Sunday not by the scriptures, but by political edicts and church councils centuries after the time of the apostles. To be clear, there is nothing wrong with going to church on Sunday, or any other day for that matter. Historically, we know that Christians did hold religious services on Sunday. However, there is a problem when we break commandments for the sake of keeping traditions. We must not be like the Pharisees whom Jesus rebuked by saying, "You have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition." May we as Christians uphold the scriptures as our final authority. The fourth commandment says to honor the Sabbath. The seventh day, not the first day or any other day, is a holy day that God told us to keep. Let's obey the scriptures like the apostles did and remember the Sabbath.
All right, there you have it. Let's run to this article. Historical record. Sunday. Let me see what the title. Let me get back on the screen. I need to get right quick. Let's read a little bit of this article. We changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday
and why? The vast majority of mainstream Christians go to church on Sunday. If the Bible speaks of observing the 7-day Sabbath, who changed the Sabbath and why? Who changed the Sabbath and why? Let's continue to read. Let me see where I want to pick this up. Anti-Semitism and the rejection of the Sabbath. 7 day that Yahweh sanctified and blessed. And it reads, surging anti-Semitism in post-apostolic times also played a major role in the change to Sunday. The Council of Laodicea in AD 365 decided Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, which is the 7th day, but must work on that day, rather honoring the Lord's day. And if they can resting, then as Christians. But if any shall, let me see where I'm at here. I lost my position here. Let me get back there. Let me see. Where was I at here? I was reading something here, and I lost my spot. Let me see if I can pick it back up at the top. The Bible makes it clear that Yahweh HaMashiach observed the Saturday Sabbath, and his apostles also observed the Sabbath after his death. Many defenders of mainstream Christianity try to attribute the origin of keeping Sunday to the apostles. Even so, many Sunday-keeping churches have to admit that there is no scriptural basis for switching to Sunday, nor is there any command by the apostles to not keep the Saturday Sabbath. For more about this, see, did the early Christian worship on Sunday? Who changed the Sabbath day? Since the Sabbath was not changed in the Bible, who changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday? Who did this? Change occurred. When did this change occur? After the death of the original apostles, new ideas began to be introduced into Christianity. During the 2nd century, Ignatius, Justin, Martyr, Irenaeus, and Clement of Alexandria attacked Sabbath observant. Tertullian followed in the 3rd century. In AD 321, Roman Emperor Constantine established Sunday as a day of rest, and at the Council of Laodicea around 365, the Catholic Church made it illegal to Judaize or be idle from work on the 7th day. So they said you had to work on the 7th day and rest on the 1st day of the week. These changes were accepted by what had become the majority of Christianity, but scattered and persecuted groups of Christians continued to observe the 7-day Sabbath and other teachings of the early New Covenant congregation church. Why was the Sabbath changed to Sunday? So what made the mainstream Christian church change the day of rest and worship from Saturday, the 7th day, to Sunday, the 1st day of the week, so long ago? The major cause seemed to be a combination of church authority overriding scriptural principles and the influence of sun worship and anti-Semitism. The Catholic Church claimed authority to change scriptural principles. Around AD 400, Augustine, a respected Catholic theologian, proclaimed that the holy doctors of the church have decreed that all glory of the Israelite Sabbath is transferred to its Sunday. Let us therefore keep the Lord's day as the ancients were commanded to do the Sabbath. Quote by Robert Cox in Sabbath Laws and Sabbath Duties, 1853. Let's close this out with some scriptures. Then we're going to play a couple of clips, something to let you see with your own two eyes what be going on the first day of the week. Going right to the book of Genesis. We're going to go to the book of the beginning, Bereshit, chapter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 1. The book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse number 1. And it reads, Thus the heaven and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Verse number 2. And on the seventh day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Verse number 3. And Yahweh blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Yahweh created and made. So the day that the Most High blessed and sanctified was the seventh day. So let's see, when he came in the flesh, my people, what did he do? And when did he do it? Going right to the book of Mark, chapter 6. We're going to pick it up at verse number 1. Book of Mark, chapter 6, verse number 1. Before we go there, we're going to run to Peter. We're going to run to a statement in the book of Peter. I believe it's 2 Peter, chapter 2. I want to peep it. Let me run to my old faithful. We're going to conclude this thing. We're going to conclude this right quick. We down to about 20 minutes, my brothers and sisters. But it's been a blast, you know. Let me run through my little spiel again before I close out on this. Let me run through my little spiel, my brothers, my sisters. Let me get to my little spiel. I will be endeavoring to bring forth biblical, historical information from the Bible, from historical books and records. The name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. Title of the teaching today is What Day is the Biblical Day of Worship? We found it out that Sunday, first day of the week, was dedicated to the worship of the sun. And that's with that which is unclean. You can't make it clean according to the scriptures, my people. Once again, I'm Brother Yagda Israel. For questions or comments, I can be contacted at area code 331-312-4022. Once again, for questions or comments, I can be contacted at area code 331-312-4022. My people. I can also be contacted by email if you want to drop me a line on my email. My email is YHDHYSRAEL@gmail.com. Once again, my email address is YHDH at let me do that again. YHDHYSRAEL@gmail.com. My brothers, my sisters. I wanted to go to the book of 2 Peter, chapter 2. See if I can pull this out right quick. I know time is winding down, but I want to take a peep at this 2 Peter. It's a statement in the book of 2 Peter. The 2 Peter I need. 2 Peter, or is it 1 Peter? 1 Peter, chapter 2. Let's peep at this statement right quick. We want to look at 1 Peter. We want to look at chapter 2. We're going to drop down to verse number 21 and 22. Verse number 21, and it reads, that's all we need is verse 21. Let's peep at this thing. The book of 1 Peter, chapter 2. And we're going to look at verse 21. 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 21 reads, For even hereunto were you called? Because Yahweh the Hamashiach, the anointed one, which you call sweet baby Jesus, also suffered for us, leaving us an example that we should follow his steps. So the one that we should be following is the one we call the Hamashiach, the one that died and was raised from the dead for our salvation, right? He the one that paid the price. He the one we should follow. My people, we're going to run to the book of Matthew. Let's go grab what he did. And we want to find out when he did it, right? We're going to run to the book of Matthew. Make that mark. We get it in Mark right quick. The book of Mark. We want to peep at the book of Mark, chapter 6. We want to look at verse number 1 and verse number 2. The book of Mark 6, verse number 1. And it reads, when he went out from thence, he came into his own country, and his disciples followed him. Verse number 2. And when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the temple, in the church, in the synagogue. So when he went to the Sabbath meeting, when he went to the Sabbath day, he did a little bit of reading, right? That's what he did. My brothers, my sisters, I'm getting an MO that I'm losing my space. I'm running out of space. So I think we're going to go ahead and get ready to close this one out, my peoples. But what day is the biblical day of worship? The day that he sanctified and blessed was the seventh day. We're going to say to the 12 tribes of Israel is scattered to the four corners of the globe, Yahweh be with you, and Yahweh bless you. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. First John chapter 2, verse 15 to 17 say, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man, woman, boy, or girl love the world, the love of your Father is not in them. All that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust